this lens is actually a pretty unique lens, and I would really recommend anybody really try it out. But there are a lot of problems with it that I don't hear a lot of YouTubers talk about. And before we get into it, if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's get started. The biggest draw to this lens is it's swirly bokeh, and out of any lens I've used, it's the most unique. And I'm gonna have some photos so you can see examples of it. I haven't seen any other lens pull it off. I've heard about the Rokinon lenses being able to swirl the bokeh in the background, but it's seen as a con. So with that, this lens is worth trying out. The color rendering is really good, and the build quality is actually very, very solid. It's an all metal construction, and it's not like the newer age metal constructed lenses where the paint chips off very easily, and they seem very delicate. This one seems like a tank, and to be honest, I'm afraid for any other lens that is put in with this one, because this one's going to be able to take it, the other lenses would not. So when it comes to the swirly bokeh, I know that everybody that talks about this lens talks about how swirly it is, how awesome it is, and even I said that it's worth picking up for that reason. The only reason why I would suggest people not make this their only 50mm vintage lens, or spend a lot of time or a lot of money seeking out this lens, because it's around $60 is how much I bought it for, but there are 8 different versions of this lens, and depending on which one you get is gonna dictate your experience. And I would not recommend people buy it and then they're just gonna be unsatisfied with it and just not use it. And if they do use it, they're only gonna be using it once for that swirly bokeh. So be careful when you're searching for this lens. 2, the swirly bokeh is very situational, and it's not going to happen all the time. And when I mean situational, every time you see this reviewed, people use the swirly bokeh in like nature. There's grass and trees in the background, and that's when the swirly bokeh is very noticeable. It's not always going to be noticeable because light has to be peering between the leaves, and that a lot of people don't talk about that, which is actually kind of weird. But yeah, that's another reason why I wouldn't suggest this lens to too many people, because you're not going to really replicate that swirliness all the time. My copy is very hazy and colors come out well, but I had to really clean this thing and take it apart, take out every lens or every piece and clean it down, and you'll see like some B-roll or whatever. The aperture ring is really greasy, and I've heard some aperture rings being like gritty and like just unpleasant to turn because it's like catching on like little particles and things of that nature. So just like, again, be careful when searching for this lens. The back piece, or the mounting piece, it's kind of wiggly. So that's, I don't know if you can hear it, but that could really be harmful for video use, and it's gonna make your camera wiggle once you're using the focus, because it's just gonna wiggle at some point in time. So that's another reason. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to buy this lens, but I think there are more reasons to not buy the lens and maybe look at something else. I mean, if you really need that swirly bokeh background, then so be it. But this lens, it's not very expensive, but if you want to spend $60 or something, I would suggest the 50mm 1.7 Pentax lenses. They're pretty cheap. I think you can find it for like $37 or something like that. Like, that's pretty good, and I use it all the time. There are some drawbacks to that lens, but I will use it. That's my opinion. But But yeah, with that being said, I hope this review wasn't too long or rambly or whatever. I hope you got the information you came here for. Just beware, because a lot of people will not talk about the drawbacks, because there are a lot, and a lot of reviews kind of push you towards the buying aspect and not the, hey, maybe you should think about not buying this lens. I mean, there are drawbacks and there are things to weigh, and the best thing about this lens doesn't necessarily outweigh the worst parts. I mean, yeah. I would just end the video here. If you like this video, subscribe. If you like it, then like it. Peace.